The biggest mistake that I made was just putting my grubby little signature all over any piece of paper that was put in front of me.
Well, it turns out that wasn't Iggy's only mistake. You see, all her life, Iggy Azalea struggled with one major thing: the fact that everybody wanted her to be a freaking princess. But when she finally seemed to have figured everything out by embracing her real self and speaking her truth, it all came crashing down. She went from topping global charts and being nominated in the Grammys to getting cancelled and kicked off big stages. While many might be right to blame the likes of Nick Young, T.I., Playboy Cardi, Nicki Minaj, or even her first manager, how Iggy actually lost it all is a plot that thickens the more you look at it. So let's get to it now. Iggy Azalea's real name is
Amethyst Amelia Kelly.
She was born in Sydney, Australia to a mother who was a cleaner and a father who was a comic artist. But when Iggy was still a baby, her parents moved the family to Mullumbimby, New South Wales, also in Australia. But guess what? Iggy never really felt like an Aussie. Mullumbimby was a hippie town with folks who took ecstasy and weed and listened to electro, house, or alternative rock, a lifestyle she never really fancied. She had 2 siblings, but still felt alone. Her biggest companion was probably her dog, whose name was Iggy even before Iggy Azalea became Iggy. This dog was also an outcast like her. He was feral, biting people for no damn reason, and impregnating neighbors' dogs like he owned the place. In any case, while Iggy Azalea was already struggling with fitting in, she faced a bigger challenge when her father ditched the family.
I had a lot of things going on, and I felt very alone. And, my parents always had a funny relationship, a bad relationship, and when I was in grade 5, my father, and I've never actually said this, but it is where it kind of all started, left me a note and gave it to my teacher. And I got to school that morning and she gave me a letter and said that your father left this for you. And I opened it up and he had left me a note saying that he had left. And he left me for a few years. And it basically said in this letter that he would see me and my younger sister and mother walk around town and see us be a family, and this depressed him and made him so upset that we would never visit him, that he wanted to kill himself, and he left. And I didn't see him for a while, and I was always very scared of my father for a while until I became older and started to understand him.
Her father leaving deepened her sense of isolation, but when she was around 12 years old, she was sort of saved by Tupac.
It was a boy's house, 2 brothers named Noah and Kareem, and Kareem was probably about 17, Noah was younger, like 13, 14, and I remember his playlists being on the computers and we would listen to them and they played Tupac, Baby Don't Cry, and I was like, what? And that was the song.
In time, Iggy was becoming indoctrinated by American culture through her obsession with Tupac and rap music. Her walls carried pictures of the rap icon, and she began to copy his mannerisms and lyrics. But soon she was getting mocked by her peers for wanting to be American so badly. This is an issue she would also face even after she became American. For now, the young Iggy was getting bullied in school, and aside from art, her grades were a complete mess. She hated school, and frankly, hated her life.
I don't know, I just felt like I was kind of stuck in a rut, and my happiness kept deteriorating over time. It seemed to be getting worse and worse and worse, to where I would research online, am I bipolar? And what is depression? And things like this. I would look at thinking, is there something wrong with me? Do I need medication? Because I'm really fucking sad.
Eventually, she dropped out of school and started doing odd jobs that paid very little. This could have easily made any parent disown their kid, but it instead brought Iggy and her mother closer. They did cleaning services together, and when her mother finally became a real estate agent, she also showed Iggy the ropes, and together, they made a respectable income. But Iggy hadn't given up her dreams to be a rapper just yet, and here, her mother would play a major part again.
She's helped me a lot, I remember she was the person that gave me the money to go record my first ever song in the studio. It would cost $200 for 5 hours, and I sat down and I was like, please, I want to be a rapper. And I remember she said to me, well, if you want to be a rapper, then what do you need to do? And I said, people need to hear my music, and I don't have any recordings to have. And she said, well, look up in the phone book.
She eventually recorded her first songs and had them posted to MySpace. Here, she was able to equally connect with people online who were interested in rap music and lived in the US. She also traveled to Sydney to compete in rap battles, which she always lost in. But that nagging feeling of alienation in Australia and the urge to relocate to the US was still so intense. So when she was 16, Iggy took up all her savings and moved to the United States in 2006 after lying to her parents that she was only going for a visit.
Well, at 16 I had no money, no family, and I was in the middle of Miami. Yeah, I showed up by myself.
Using a visa waiver, she was able to stay in the States and work illegally, even going as far as indulging in credit card scams. And there was also the problem of her traveling back home every 3 months to renew her visa. Miami basically sucked for Iggy, so she moved to Houston, and here, she finally got her long-awaited break. Or did she? You see, the famed record producer Mr. Lee had taken an interest in her when he first saw her songs on MySpace. And guess what? Mr. Lee was the producer of Tupac's Still I Rise album. So yeah, the stars were finally aligning for Iggy. Lee taught her how to rap like a girl, as she had until then rapped like an angry dude. Lee also connected her with a 33-year-old music producer, Hefe Wine, whose real name was Maurice Williams.
And she was actually dope, creatively dope. How she dressed, style, she an artist, know how to paint, draw. She was gifted, and I'm like connected to people like that.
Iggy didn't know it then, but Williams was about to make her life two things. First, to make it better by helping her improve her music. And next, to complicate it so badly, only the jury could help out.
So we just kicked it off in common like that. So that's how that started, you know. And of course it went to hell, but that's how it started.
But we'll get to that hell later. In the meantime, Iggy was still just a vulnerable and desperate 18-year-old in Houston, looking for a place to stay, trying to be a model and respectable rapper all at once. The modeling didn't work out because
I was too fat.
her music was improving, but everyone around her wanted her to ditch rap and basically be a princess.
Cause everywhere I took her, they like, she ain't no way, she can't be no rapper. She need to be modeling, all this. They was down on her left and right, and that just motivated me even more. And she got good at it. I knew that she would be a mega star if she stuck to pop rap. I knew the hood and the black community wasn't gonna respect you trying to do that. And it backfired on her. But as we see, her greatest hit is the one that was pop, hip hop. And that's the stuff that I was producing on.
Her relationship with Williams also grew intimate, and they began living together as Iggy was basically homeless. However, over time, this partnership turned sour and Iggy was ready to move on from him. But things became even worse for her when Hurricane Ike hit Texas in 2008. Iggy had no choice but to move to Atlanta, where things would start to improve for her once more. Aside from ending the relationship with Williams, she also met Shauna Peasy, who she would become BFFs with. Peasy also became her manager and helped her get into the Marvelous Enterprises Artist Development Center. This was where Iggy learned how to perform on stage and improve her artistry. But when things seemed to be getting better, the criticism of how she rapped and behaved surfaced again. She was told to drop hip-hop and become a pop artist like Britney Spears. But Iggy had been rapping since she was 14. Hip-hop was the reason she left Australia. It was basically her life now. All her role models, Tupac, Andre 3000, and Missy Elliott, were all hip-hop icons. She would be damned if she ever took her legs off the rap pedal. Fortunately for her, Neil Jacobson and George Robertson, two guys from Interscope Records, stumbled upon her freestyle posted on YouTube and were amazed by her. Fast forward to August 2010, she relocated to LA after making several prior visits there. She started working with producer Polo de Don and meeting A-listers such as Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. But she was still faced with a familiar foe, her sponsors trying to turn her into a freaking princess. So she left Interscope after a couple of months and went back to uploading stuff on YouTube. Around this time was when she started to go by the name Iggy Azalea, because Iggy was the name of her former dog, and Azalea was the name of the street her childhood home was. She may rap like an American, but at least she still took some of Australia with her. In any case, she continued posting on YouTube, and her persistence finally paid off when she posted her first hit song Pussy in 2012. The song was doing fairly well at first, but when Perez Hilton discovered and posted the video, it blew up. She might have gotten heavily criticized for having a young boy on her shoulders while she rapped about her genitals, but this was a good thing for her because it increased her notoriety. People started getting curious about the white, confident, and unapologetic girl with rapid fire and punchy delivery of trashy and brash lyrics. And soon, she was getting comparisons to Krayshawn, something Iggy didn't like. In any case, before the end of the year, she had released her first mixtape, Ignorant Art. She also started dating A$AP Rocky and even got the name of Rocky's mixtape tattooed on her fingernails.
It says live love.
Live love A$AP. The rumor mill is buzzing that you guys are.
But this relationship lasted only a couple of months. As for her musical career, it was on the rise, and she had even announced her plans to release her first album, The New Classic. Interscope Records also decided to take a chance on her again and officially gave her a contract. But they weren't the only ones who had taken an interest in Iggy. T.I. was also hooked on the Aussie rapper.
Well, Tip called me up. He called my management up actually and said he wanted to meet me. And I didn't really know why, but I've always liked T.I. and his music, you know, growing up. And so I was like, hell yeah, he's a legend. Of course I'll meet him. And he was in LA. And I went to the studio and met him. And met Tamika and she was there and everyone, and he was like, let me talk to you. And he sat me down at the table and he was like, look, I think you're really dope. What do you think about waving the Grand Hustle flag?
Iggy was sold on the idea, but her deal with Interscope complicated things, so she asked T.I. if his Grand Hustle label could executive produce her, and he agreed. However, Interscope didn't like the arrangement, so Iggy was left with the decision of choosing one over the other. She chose T.I.
He's so unaffected and by the media, and I think that's a really good way to be, and he definitely has helped me to learn how to ignore it. Two, I'd say he just has a crazy work ethic. And I always thought I had a strong work ethic until I started getting in there with him, and he can like multitask and be in all different rooms doing crazy stuff.
As she got situated with Grand Hustle Records and prepared for her debut album, a beef started between her and Azalea Banks. But mind you, they were initially cool, because in October 2011, Banks had tweeted, "How sexy is Iggy Azalea? It's kinda ridiculous." Tugs collar to let out steam. Then the narrative changed after Banks tweeted the next day, "Once wrote a song called Barbie Shit, but Nicki Minaj blew up like the week after, so I took it down. LOLs. I felt corny. Also wrote a song called Pussy before Iggy Azalea." Iggy later responded, "It's never been about who did it first, it's always been about who did it better." And with this, Banks couldn't stop tweeting against Iggy for the next few years. Nevertheless, when asked in January 2012 what she thought about the beef, Iggy replied, "I have no deal with her. I don't know her personally. I said it about Krayshawn too. If I don't know you personally, how could I have a problem with you? What would I have a problem about? I don't know that person. I don't know you. I truly don't understand it. I just keep making my own music and I'm deaf to that. What is there to say? Nothing." In any case, in early 2012, Iggy was featured on XXL's Top 10 Freshman list alongside rising rappers like French Montana and Machine Gun Kelly. Again, Banks was on Iggy's throat, tweeting, "Iggy Azalea on the XXL Freshman list is all wrong. How can you endorse a white woman who called herself a runaway slave master?" Banks was referring to when Iggy rapped in her 2011 song Drugs, saying, "When the relay starts, I'm a runaway slave. Master, hitting on the past, gonna spit it like a pastor." Anyway, Iggy apologized for the lyrics.
When I did that song, it was a remix of the Kendrick Lamar song, and that was his line, and a lot of the lines in it, I followed closely because I really liked the song. And when I wrote it and I was in a room full of black guys,
say it, go ahead, say it. It's a whole nother.
I was like, I don't know. Do you think I can really do this line? I questioned it when I did it, and everyone was like, "No, you do it, like do it. It's cool, do it." And I did it like an idiot, and then after I never really sat right with me, and it was one of those things where it was like, should I do it to be controversial? I know what people are gonna think about this, or should I not? And to be honest with you, sometimes you do things that you wish you didn't, I suppose in a way for attention or to get noticed, and I was just starting out and I wanted to be noticed, and I can admit that now as a person, and I apologized for it and said, yeah, it was very tasteless and it was very tacky of me to do that, and it was young of me to do that. And
But she also had some words for Banks as she said, "You can't block my blessings. Today I'm celebrating. Get with it or kick rocks. First female freshman ever. Period. Thanks, world. I used to stick XXL on my bedroom door. Now I'm on the cover. Life is great." Shortly after, in March of that same year, T.I. officially signed Iggy to his Grand Hustle Records. Following this, she released Murder Business, featuring him as the intended lead single from her debut album, The New Classic. Then in April, Azalea announced a new EP titled Glory, and starred in the world's first fully interactive shoppable music video for Canadian retailer Sense. But despite her Grand Hustle deal, she was still a free agent without secure distribution and was in talks with record labels including Def Jam Records. Iggy's song Glory was delayed, but eventually released in July. She also joined MTV's Closer to My Dreams tour alongside Tyga and Kurt Cobain's. In October, she announced her second mixtape, Trap Gold, produced by Diplo and Ficky, and made her US TV debut at the 2012 BET Hip Hop Awards with T.I. and other Grand Hustle artists. Azalea then embarked on a mini-tour with Rita Ora and headlined a European tour to promote Trap Gold. She was in a row.
But now you're still here, mustard on the beat, you're still with Tip, you look beautiful, you're selling out shows, your fashion game is hot, and I'm actually here to let you know that not only am I impressed, But now, I'm ready to see if you really got what it takes to go ahead and get these motherfuckers to accept who you are as an artist.
Right. Well, we'll see.
And things were about to get a lot better. In February 2013, she released her debut single, Work. Shortly after, she signed with Mercury Records and released a music video for Work. Then in March, she toured with Nas in Europe, and her second single, Bounce, premiered on Vivo in April. That same month, she signed a solo deal with Island Def Jam and later performed at the Chime for Change benefit concert alongside Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez. On the other hand, her debut album, The New Classic, was nearing completion, but its release was delayed until 2014 due to commitments such as opening for Beyonce on her Mrs. Carter Show World Tour.
Have released singles and gone on tour with so many amazing people. Beyonce next month, so I feel like it's the year I got legit. Very special.
During this time, she started dating basketball star Nick Young.
Man, no big deal, you know.
In August, she released her third single, Change Your Life, featuring T.I., and made her first appearance on BET's 106 & Park. The album's release was pushed back to March 2014. In late 2013, Azalea performed Blurred Lines with Robin Thicke at the MTV Europe Music Awards and had a song leak, later revealed to be Fancy, featuring Charlie XCX. Fancy changed Iggy's life forever. Premiered in early 2014, it became Azalea's biggest hit, reaching #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. She became the fourth solo female rapper to top the chart and achieved the rare feat of holding the top 2 positions on the Billboard Hot 100 with Fancy and Ariana Grande's Problem. The New Classic was finally released in April 2014, debuting at #3 on the Billboard 200 and setting records for a female rapper's debut album. Iggy followed this with Black Widow featuring Rita Ora, which peaked at #3 on the Hot 100. But in the background of her unprecedented success, trouble was brewing. The beef continued, and something sinister hung in the air around Iggy. In May of that year, Tyler, the Creator, was asked on 106 & Park if he would sleep with Iggy Azalea, and he said, "She stinks. She got shots in her thumb. I want real booty. You feel me?" Iggy then tweeted her response. "Tyler, the Creator, is beyond immature. I've always believed you had something more to offer the world. Shame to see you be so rude. People that make enemies and talk shit about people they've never even said hi to trip me out. I see it all the time. Strange world." But it didn't end there. K. Michelle, the Love and Hip Hop star, also threw shades at Iggy, tweeting, "How can you be from another country and rap like you're from Memphis, Tennessee?" Following this, Nicki Minaj allegedly took shots at Iggy during her acceptance speech of Best Female Artist at the 2014 BETs.
What I want the world to know about Nicki Minaj is when you hear Nicki Minaj spit, Nicki Minaj wrote it.
But Nicki later tweeted to say she had no intention of shading Iggy. But while all this was going on, her past would also come to haunt her. Remember Maurice Williams, aka Hefe Wine? Well, he had now legally changed his name to Enzo Weinberg and claimed in an interview that he and Iggy Azalea agreed to marry in 2008 under common law. But Iggy denied it and accused him of stealing unreleased songs from her computer. She also called him a thief, felon, and fugitive. But while the issue with Williams was eventually trashed out, the beef continued. A notable one started between Snoop Dogg and Iggy when Snoop posted this picture. Then Iggy went on a Twitter rampage over this, but eventually, Snoop posted this video in apology after T.I. had a heart-to-heart with him. Also, it is fair to know that T.I. was always quick to back Iggy whenever the beef came rolling in, but he too was called out because of it. But why was Iggy Azalea so hated, especially by his fellow rap colleagues who should even have her back more than anyone else? Well, the answer is both simple and complicated. For one, she was mostly hated by the black community because she was accused of rapping about a black culture that she knew nothing about. They accused her of cultural appropriation or imitating hip-hop for the sake of fame and money, even while being ignorant of black history and experience. In addition, her detractors believe she lacked lyrical skills and didn't work hard enough to get to where she was because she's white. Then to make things even worse, she was criticized for not lending her voice to social justice issues related to the black community and for even being racist, especially in the past. Even Krayshawn had something to say about all this when she tweeted, "If Iggy feels she shouldn't have a say in America's racism, she should at least talk about the obscene amount of racism in Australia, Santa's little bay." She also added, "I mean, even as an American, I am aware of Australia's race problems and I can't even spell the damn country's name, lol, Santa's little bay." That said, Iggy's supporters would argue that she raps the way she does because all her role models are African American. Additionally, when you look at her lyrics critically, they were mostly about her life experience, from her leaving Australia to making it in the US. And if personal experience isn't the soul of hip-hop, then what is? For example, in her song Work, she raps, "No money, no family, 16 in the middle of Miami." And "White chick on that pock shit, my passion was ironic." So it would seem she borrowed hip-hop as a medium for her expression. This is why she got support from African-American musicians like her manager T.I. and even will.i.am. Besides, if Linda Martell, Shabuzi, and recently even Beyonce have all successfully made their way into country music, is it fair that Iggy got so lambasted for cultural appropriation? Anyway, amidst all the noise, Iggy continued to shine, and in December 2014, she announced plans for a 2015 arena tour, the Great Escape Tour, and revealed that her second studio album would share the same theme, representing her as a musical escape artist. But if you think things were already spiraling out of control for the Aussie rapper, then you're mistaken.
Run up if you want some, hit the drums, how they be here, that's how you done.
Britney Spears was ready to drop her first single of 2015 after a while away from the music scene. And to mark her return, she released a song with Iggy Azalea.
I almost have a new song out with Britney Spears. I will soon, yes. And she's super nice. She came to my house and had lunch, and I didn't know what to expect, and we actually really got along, and I've been texting her, annoying her with all my ideas for the video. And
While the song was still in the works, things seemed all rosy between the two. But when it didn't meet the hype leading up to it, things started to get ugly for the pretty girls. Following criticisms of the song, Iggy tweeted, "It's difficult to send a song up the charts without additional promo and TV performance, etc. Unfortunately, I'm just featured." Britney replied via Instagram, quote, "Don't let idiots ruin your day." But this was the least of her problems. The Great Escape Tour scheduled for late 2015 was cancelled, and Azalea was quick to defend this disappointment. But the truth is, ticket sales were never going to let the tour take off. Seriously, if there was a year that Iggy Azalea wanted to forget, it was 2015. You see, after the Britney episode, she knew better than to get herself tangled with Rita Ora when she name-dropped the fancy rapper as a future collab. Given her record with British pop stars, Azalea made sure to steer clear of any rumors of their collab. But even when she does her best to avoid trouble, it still always finds a way to meet her. L after L after L, Azalea was beginning to be a lot less like the it girl she thought she was when she hit the scene. Things became even worse when her former mentor T.I. hopped on that wave and right out disowned his former protege for not taking it too well on a lesson on the culture she was trying to be a part of, to which she felt he was just being sanctimonious. But her persecution as a culture vulture continued when she was caught up in Macklemore's track feigning innocence for something she has never expressed guilt over. He name-dropped her in a line of white privilege too when he said, "The culture was never yours to make better. You're Miley, you're Elvis, you're Iggy Azalea." Iggy responded,
I don't think it was like intended as a diss, but at least I would have been prepared when the headlines came out and been like, all right, I know what it is.
But if that wasn't a diss, this Erykah Badu jab at her was definitely one.
Yes. Who is this? Iggy Azalea. Yeah, hey. Oh, no. You can come, because what you're doing is definitely not rap. Yeah. In fact, yeah.
Iggy then responded, "We are days from 2016, but I came online today and saw it's still cool to try and discredit my 2014 accomplishments. LOL, fucking hell." Feeling victimized as part of an agenda, her reaction persuaded more people to feel she was nothing more than an entitled person. She was not getting love in any form, from anywhere, especially not from the people she expected it from most. It seemed that her only happy moment in 2015 was her engagement with Nick Young back in June. But even that was taken away from her when she learned of her partner's infidelity.
Youngest bitch? Yeah. How old was you? What you like? You were 30, she was 19?
Single and near rock bottom, Iggy turned to the only thing that she cared about, her art. She announced her new album would be called Digital Distortion and soon returned to dropping music. Her song A Zillion was set to usher in her new era. The song Team followed not long after, and it seemed she had gotten her groove back. Or had she? Unfortunately, her record label didn't promote A Zillion or Team the way she felt they should have, and to say she was upset is an understatement. But were they wrong though? This was the same person who was getting clowned by almost every notable hip-hop figure and was not in the good books of a few pop stars. As much PR is still PR in any form, there may be rappers who thrive off of hate and can turn it into fuel and momentum. But Iggy was not that type of rapper and didn't make the type of music that would permit that. But this would not be the only reason she would delay her album. By the time she broke things off with Nick Young, she had already started writing it, and it wouldn't have done her any good keeping songs that had reminded her of her failed romance. Ultimately, she would scrap the idea of releasing her sophomore album Digital Distortion, but still release music as proof that she was still in the game. However, her songs weren't charting like before, and it wasn't because the public was tired of her sound, but her label was. She felt she wasn't garnering the attention her music used to because executives at Virgin EMI weren't backing her like they used to. But this didn't stop her from releasing new music, with Mo Bounce and Switch coming out in 2017. By the turn of the new year, she had gotten herself a new label, and Digital Distortion was renamed Saving the Summer after being turned into an EP. But even with this, she was nowhere near a comeback. Iggy Azalea was not that hot new rapper on the block from 2014 anymore, and she was struggling to maintain relevancy as a standout artist, but her newfound love with Playboi Carti kept her relevant.
Merry Christmas! Loser. You dork. Why are you so jealous of me? You are. You hate on anything that someone gave me that wasn't you. You can buy me some water. I have a great boyfriend, my friends.
The two met when Carti was on tour back in 2018, and their love was one she never thought she'd experience again, especially not after how things ended with Nick Young. With what she was facing, she definitely needed someone in her corner. They moved in together, and Iggy's career may have been in shambles, but her love life wasn't, and soon enough she would share with Carti what she never had with anyone before: a child. Iggy gave birth to their son Onyx on April 28, 2020, and just when you think starting a family was the beginning of things getting better, Iggy revealed that her ship with Carti was always bound to sink way before it did. By Christmas of 2020, the lovebirds were no more. Carti had chosen promotion for his upcoming album over spending time with his son, and this was something that didn't sit right with Iggy.
This man didn't even come to see his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with little Uzi. He thought that was more important than seeing his son be born. Imagine spending time playing PlayStation with your friend instead of seeing your first son be born.
But this wasn't an unfamiliar spot for her, and if there's a place she knew of all too well, it was the booth. Iggy would make a return to it in the midst of all this turmoil. She hoped that it would serve as a muse for what she hoped was her return to the limelight. Now independent with her own label, Bad Dreams, she was free from business restrictions and ready to give her haters nightmares. In February of 2019, around the time she was still with Carti, she had finished what would be her sophomore album, In My Defense. After 2 botched attempts at a sophomore album, this seemed like it would be the number because her lead single, Sally Walker, was gaining traction and even debuted at number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100. By summer, the album was out. It had been half a decade since her last LP, and in between those 5 years, her life had been a roller coaster of emotions, but In My Defense was a whole new low. It only charted in her native Australia, and features from artists like Lil Yachty and Juicy J were not enough to save it from negative reviews. Her third studio album, The End of an Era, was released on August 13, 2021, and it sure did live up to its name. It didn't chart. It killed any little buzz Iggy had left, and it proved to be the final form of her rapid decline. With nothing left to give or lose, she pulled the plug on things.
This is my last album on my distribution deal, so I don't have an obligation to make anymore. But this is a contractual obligation, putting out this album. This was so important to me, and I really took my time with it because I'm like, this may be the last one. And I'm pretty sure it will be. My decision to not make any more music is ultimately, really at this point, truly 95% of it is about the fact that I just don't feel that I am comfortable being that level open to the public. Maybe it's partially because I have a son now and I feel that maternal instinct to want to really protect him.
Iggy would later on take her statement back, but the next time her name would be brought up in the music world was on a matter far related to music.
Rapper Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting artist Megan Thee Stallion during an argument. The DA's office.
When Tory Lanez's legal team was getting letters of recommendation from notable associates, Iggy Azalea was one of them. The two had a relationship so close that it sparked dating rumors. They were also working on music together before his arrest.
Hey bro, I gotta ask. I didn't realize you were behind the new Iggy comeback, the new album. You're producing it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be executive producing it. We've been working on it for a solid 2.5 months, and then she went on tour, so we about to get back to it now.
However, when the public learned that she had submitted a letter showing sympathy for Tory, it sparked backlash. Not only was her support for someone who was cancelled controversial, but the fact that she supposedly didn't back a fellow female rapper was beyond forgiving. She tried to do damage control with tweets debunking claims by the media, but to no avail. And when you thought she couldn't make a bigger joke out of herself, she shared this not-so-new information to the world.
I stopped making music because it felt in ways that it was redundant.
And it was definitely for good this time. She was never going to touch a mic again because she was in a new line of work and doing well.
I'm making so much money that I won't even say how much it is.
That's so sick. I
Making a lot
love
of money.
that so much for you.
I
I've
love
been
it
thinking about
too.
starting one.
I feel really happy with my decision too. Everything that I felt in terms of my nervousness about it or my hesitancy, within 2 days of doing it, it went out the window.
Iggy was cashing out big sums of money on OnlyFans, and reports had it that she was seeing as much as 6 figures in a week and 7 in a good month.
Did she deny that she made $300K like already or something?
She did, but we know the bonuses and shit. We don't know if she's implying that that's more or less.
I think she made more than that.
I believe so too, because just like all it would take is at $25 for it to be $300,000.
But the check came at a price. She was now seen as a failed music artist who resorted to OnlyFans because of how badly her music was doing. She didn't have the respect of anyone in the industry, and the culture wasn't showing her love. She hasn't been the first female celebrity to go down this road of starting OnlyFans after a serious career dip, and she definitely won't be the last, but was one epic fall. With all that said, do you think she would ever come back to the music scene? Or is this truly the end of Iggy the rapper?